Thomas Starr King, first a Universalist and then a Unitarian minister, quoted a Universalist minister describing those differences. The Universalist believes that God is too good to damn us forever, and you Unitarians believe you are too good to be damned. This referred to the Unitarians' higher estimation of human nature, with their doctrine of salvation by character, while Universalists concentrated on God's love for humanity. Hosea Ballou expressed the Universalist view provocatively: salvation irrespective of character. Salvation was not so much earned as it was a gift from a loving God.
In the 1930s, Universalists wanted to express their faith without using the term salvation. They said, "We avow our faith in the supreme worth of every human personality." This is the origin of the first Unitarian Universalist principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The spirituality expressed in the seventh Unitarian Universalist principle is also solidly grounded in the experience of the early Universalists, many of whom struggled to scratch out a living on the frontier and experienced nature as an all-powerful reality on which they were totally dependent.
While Unitarians have a higher historical profile in early American reform movements, Universalists also were pioneers in many areas. Consider, for example, the issue of anti-slavery. The Unitarian minister William Ellery Channing was called a reluctant radical for his early hesitancy to speak against slavery. There is evidence that he began preaching about slavery as early as 1826. However, his sermons were often not well received by his congregation, many of whom were textile mill owners whose business interests depended on cheap Southern cotton, made possible by slave labor. In a 1790 meeting in Philadelphia, Universalists adopted an anti-slavery statement composed by Declaration of Independence signer Dr. Benjamin Rush, which was adopted in 1794 by New England Universalists meeting in Oxford, Massachusetts. The Universalists were the second denomination in the nation to oppose slavery, the Quakers being the first. The Unitarian denomination never went on record as opposing slavery.
Another example of Universalist progressivism is the ordination of women. The ordination of Olympia Brown to the Universalist ministry in 1863 by the St. Lawrence Universalist Association marked the first time in America that a woman was ordained by a denominational body. Unitarianism spread slowly, mostly to cities, as transplanted Northeasterners brought their religion with them. Universalism spread rapidly, not only to cities but to rural areas as well, carried by saddlebag preachers eager to spread the good news. Universalists founded schools and colleges, including what are now the California Institute of Technology, the University of Akron, St. Lawrence University, and Tufts University. During the 19th century, Universalists grew to be America's sixth largest denomination, many times larger than the Unitarian denomination.
But by the mid-20th century, Universalists had shrunk to a relatively tiny denomination, ready for consolidation with the larger American Unitarian Association. One reason for Universalism's decline was that its distinctiveness was blurred when other denominations began to downplay hellfire and emphasize God's love.
Hell is the ultimate consequence of sin itself. Rather than a place, hell indicates the state of those who freely and definitively separate themselves from God, the source of all life and joy.
Another reason for Universalism's decline had to do with Universalists' fear of centralized authority. In 1792, Universalists in Newport, Rhode Island, were reported to be reluctant even to meet with each other for Sunday worship, for fear of the ecclesiastical structure which they felt would inevitably follow from holding regular meetings. To the very end of its independent existence, the Universalist denomination never allowed its national organization to have significant authority.
Yet another reason for Universalist decline was that as Universalists made their way up the socio-economic ladder, they de-emphasized the most radical parts of their message in order to blend in with mainstream denominations. Like the Unitarians before them, they began to speak of salvation as more a matter of character development than a loving God's unconditional gift to every person. Universalism seemed to have lost its prophetic edge. Universalism experienced a theological rebirth in the decades flanking World War II. A new declaration of faith incorporated humanist values, and a new generation of leaders reconnected Universalism to its radical roots.
When the Universalist Church of America and the American Unitarian Association consolidated in 1961, the more prominent Unitarian name came to be the one most often used. Unitarian Universalist was shortened to Unitarian by many people. Now, Universalism as a theology with a broad appeal in an increasingly interfaith, multicultural world has increased acceptance. It plays a prominent role in theological discussions in seminaries and in parishes.
To our children in 2003 AD. When you, our great-grandchildren, shall enter the dawn of 2003, do not forget the parents' names herein inscribed, whose words and works are herein recorded, whose bodies sleep in the dust, but whose spirits have returned to their God. We have done our best for you, and believe that during 1903 we firmly built on the solid foundation which our fathers laid in 1803. We charge you, who will be the supporters of the dear Winchester Church, to never fail to keep alive the sacred fires of our faith on this holy altar.
People of Universalist heritage, as well as those who have come to a new appreciation of the power of Universalism in history and theology, are reinvigorating that tradition. Eager to maintain a connection with Universalism's spiritual taproot and radical vision, they reinterpret the Universalist message for a new generation. They see the importance of applying Universalist perspectives to current problems.
The Universalist Heritage Foundation has recently formed to keep alive both the heritage of Universalism and its message, which is richly relevant to today's spiritual seekers. Its mission is to celebrate and preserve the rich legacy of the Universalist faith, to educate future generations in the Universalist tradition, and to continue to put forth the Universalist message as an agent of hope for a fractured world.
A Universalist Heritage Center is being developed in this handsome building in Winchester, New Hampshire, site of the adoption of the defining 1803 Winchester Profession of Belief. Through the generosity of several donors, the Universalist Heritage Foundation was able to purchase the building. However, to maintain it and develop a program will require considerable additional funding.
If you would like to support this project, please contact the Universalist Heritage Foundation at P.O. Box 6441, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03063-6441, or Universalist Heritage Foundation at gmail.com.
As poet Edwin Markham said after worshiping at the Church of the Divine Paternity, that's now Fourth Universalist Church in New York City, these familiar words: "He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in."